Asta, Deku, Rock Lee. When you think of these characters, what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Oh, Ditto, I know, pick me. Yes, you, kid, pheromone maxing in the back. What is it?
Oh, they're all whiny little bitches.
You need to leave!
All these characters are, say it with me now, underdogs. And honestly, I think it's one of the most misunderstood tropes in anime. When we think of underdogs in Western media, we think of someone like Rocky, a guy from nowhere who doesn't win because he's the strongest, he wins because he keeps getting up. And even when he loses, it feels like he wins. There's this universal appeal to the little guy. But why? Why do we root for Rocky instead of the champ? I mean, the champ trained just as hard, struggled just as much, so why do we want Rocky to win? Well, that's easy. Because you're not a champion.
Yeah, you ain't no champion, fat ass! Who gonna carry the boat, huh? Who gonna carry the boat? Sorry, David, I promise. I'll go to the gym tomorrow, just please. Give me my family back.
We root for underdogs so much because we see ourselves in them. Underdogs aren't exceptionally gifted people. They come off as average guys who train and work hard to do something exceptional. It feels good to see them win because it's not just a victory for them, it's a victory for us too. Most people in the world aren't born with overwhelming talent, endless resources, or a natural edge over everyone else. We have to struggle and scrape our way, building up skills and ability through hard work and effort. And when we see someone else whose struggles relate to our own, we can't help but root for them. That's why anime underdogs have a serious problem. Most of them are broken as fuck. Alright. Alright, let's see here. Underdog. A competitor thought to have little chance of winning a fighter contest. Huh. Well, I guess I was wrong. What's it like to be an underdog in America? Yeah, while that's technically the definition of an underdog, it doesn't capture any of their weight or go over any characteristics. So instead, we'll be using the Ditto definition. An underdog is someone who starts at a significant disadvantage, whether it's physical, social, or situational, facing opponents or obstacles that are overwhelmingly superior. What defines an underdog isn't just their lack of powers or resources, but the fact that their success feels unlikely. Yet despite these odds, they persist, driven by resilience, determination, and a deeply personal motivation.
Ditto, then what's wrong with underdogs in anime?
What sets apart anime underdogs from one like Rocky and or Jaden Smith from Karate Kid, yeah, that's my Karate Kid, fight me, is that anime characters aren't the everyman. Anime takes place in a strange, faraway land of make-believe called Japan. No, trust me, those fuckers do some weird shit. And there's a stark contrast between anime underdogs and ones from the West. For example, Naruto. Let's see, tragic backstory? Yeah, I can relate to that. Has a grand dream that he believes in despite what other people say? Check. Has a fox demon sealed inside of him? Huh. Maybe? You see what I mean? Take any anime underdog and what do they have and are given? Godlike powers. Goku isn't just any lower class warrior, he's a Super Saiyan, like one of the strongest characters in the show. Luffy isn't just a happy-go-lucky pirate, he ate the fruit of a literal god. Midoriya isn't a quirkless kid in a powerful world of superheroes, he gets the strongest quirk in the entire show. Now before you start running to the comments angry that I dissed your favorite MC, I'm not hating on any of them. My point is that there's a stark contrast between anime underdogs and Western underdogs. Anime underdogs most of the time are born with talent and powers and abilities, but that doesn't take away from the impactfulness of their stories. For example, one of my favorite fights from One Piece is Luffy versus Rob Lucci. Luffy gets a random ass pull out of nowhere. And yeah, while I can't relate to using my rubbery blood vessels to push more oxygen to my muscles, I can relate to his struggle, fighting someone stronger to protect the things you care about. I was something of a fighter myself. The problem is that most of the characters lack the true essence of an underdog. We don't see characters like Goku and Luffy and think, wow, he's just like me. We get inspired from them and try to become them. I mean, how many times have you tried to turn into a Super Saiyan or shoot a Kamehameha as a kid? Fucking, he was trying to turn into a Super Saiyan. Get a load of this guy. That was me. I was that guy. In Western underdog stories, we often root for characters because they reflect us. They aren't destined, they aren't chosen, they're just people, trying their best. These characters win because of sheer willpower, not because they're secretly chosen one with godlike abilities. Anime underdogs, on the other hand, often elevate us. They start from nothing, but their stories explode into extraordinary. And honestly, that's the part we love the most. But the biggest problem is this. When everyone has godlike abilities, when every underdog becomes the strongest in the universe by the final act, the underdog magic starts to fade. The victories become less about vulnerability and resilience and more about power-ups and destiny. The raw, messy humanity of being the little guy fighting an impossible battle gets buried under explosions and glowing aura. Don't get me wrong, I love Gear 5 Luffy and UI Goku, or whatever power-up Naruto just got. I'm not watching Boruto. But it just doesn't hit the same. The conversation goes from, come on Luffy, beat Lucci, to, oh man, I can't wait till he hits Gear 5. By the end, most of these shows, they aren't really underdogs anymore. The story always shifts way too far right to the power fantasy, and the human struggles that define the underdog in the beginning is lost. So, what's the real problem with anime? At their core, underdogs are supposed to represent vulnerability, struggle, and the thrill of seeing someone beat impossible odds. But anime does something unique. It blends that struggle with godlike abilities and over-the-top power-ups. While it still works most of the time, there's just a tipping point. When the underdog journey becomes less about overcoming limitations and more about unlocking their next power-up, the emotional weight starts to fade. The stakes feel lower and the victories just seem less earned. Don't get me wrong, those big flashy moments are hype as hell. Watching Goku go Super Saiyan for the first time, seeing Luffy unleash Gear 2, or Midoriya breaking his bones to win, it's iconic. But when every fight starts relying on what new power they'll pull out next, instead of how they'll push through despite their weaknesses, the magic of the underdog story starts to flip away. Anime underdogs aren't too powerful, that's not the problem. It's that sometimes they just stop feeling like underdogs. And when they stop feeling vulnerable, and when victory starts to feel inevitable, we lose what makes their stories hit so hard. At the best, anime underdogs remind us that strength isn't just about power. It's about resilience, sacrifice, and the will to keep going, even when everything's stacked against you. And when animes nail that balance between absurdity and abilities and raw vulnerability, it's when underdogs shine the brightest. So yeah, anime underdogs aren't perfect, but when there's done right, there's nothing more satisfying than watching someone who shouldn't win get back up and say one more time.